help if I turned on my microphone. Hopefully that's better. Episode 242, Advocating Without Burning Out, Managing Your Energy for the Long Haul. Well, hey there, my friends. Welcome to the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Urquiola, and I am mom to an amazing young adult whose name is Jordan. He is 29 now. I am a life and parent coach and mentor to an incredible community of moms, all raising children on the spectrum. And I show up here every week for you, our listeners, because I know that this road isn't easy. I've walked it for over 2 decades, and I know the mix of love and fear and frustration and hope that comes with it. So, whether your kiddo just got diagnosed or you've been doing this a while, you belong here, having these real, honest conversations about the things that no one told us that we would need to know when we started this parenting journey. Today, we're talking about something that every single one of us does, and sometimes without even realizing how much energy it takes. We're talking about advocating without burning out. And if you've been at this for a while, you know exactly what I mean. You are constantly advocating for your child at school, for services, for therapies, for understanding. And let's be honest, sometimes even for your family's peace inside your own home. And it's a lot. And while it's something we do out of love and necessity, it can also drain you in ways that are hard to put into words. So today I want to talk about how you can keep showing up effectively and with purpose without depleting every ounce of your energy along the way. So whether it's in your child's classroom, it's in your home, a doctor's office, or even with extended family, you are constantly advocating. You're explaining, you're educating, you're protecting, you're planning, you're pushing. And that can all take a toll, right? So, advocacy isn't just one big event, it's hundreds of small ones all strung together. It's the everyday things that add up over time. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself running on empty, even while you're still doing all the right things. So today, I want to help you learn to protect your energy so you can keep showing up, not just for your child, but for yourself and for your family without burning out. And let's be honest, you didn't sign up to be an advocate. You became one because your child needed you to. And you probably didn't even realize how much advocating you'd be doing. From explaining sensory needs to school staff, to requesting accommodations that are rightfully yours, to defending your parenting choices when others just don't understand. And advocacy doesn't end there, it stretches into your family life too. You're often advocating for balance, for understanding, for time, for rest, for your marriage, for your other children, and yes, sometimes even for your own sanity. That's why it's so easy to find yourself feeling constantly on, right? Your brain never stops scanning for what needs to be fixed, who needs to be informed, how to make things smoother and easier. You know, people often think advocacy means standing up for something once in a while, like writing a letter or attending an IEP meeting once a year. But for moms like us raising autistic children, advocacy is daily life. It's not just one big meeting, it's those constant micro moments. Explaining your child's needs to a new teacher, reminding grandma not to use certain words, asking the pediatrician to listen when you say something isn't working, pushing back when the system tells you he doesn't qualify. And that constant advocacy, it takes an emotional toll on you. Over time, you can start to feel like you're always in fight mode. And when that happens, your body doesn't really know how to turn it off. You start feeling on edge, exhausted, reactive instead of intentional. And before you know it, you're not just advocating for your child anymore. You're advocating from a place of depletion. And when you live in that state for too long, that's when burnout sneaks in. That's what we call advocacy burnout. And here's the thing, you can't pour from an empty cup. When you constantly are running on adrenaline, even when it's good adrenaline, it will eventually catch up with you. Think about how much energy advocacy really takes, not just physical, but mental and emotional. Every email, every meeting, every note that you jot down after school, it's all energy spent. And energy is, kind of a resource that we don't have an extended amount of. And here's what I want you to remember. You don't need more time. You need more energy awareness. Energy management means becoming aware of how much something costs you mentally and emotionally, and deciding if it's worth spending that energy right now. So let's just say maybe a teacher sends you a frustrating email on Friday afternoon that immediately makes your blood pressure spike, and you're ready to fire off a long reply. But instead, you take a breath and you remind yourself, this can wait until Monday. Right now, I'm going to decide to protect my peace. You're protecting your limited energy so that when you do respond, it's from clarity and not a place of chaos. It's not avoidance, it's strategy. You have to start asking yourself, is this worth my energy today? Does it need to be handled right now, or can it wait? Am I reacting or am I responding with purpose and intention? You are protecting your limited energy so that when you do respond, you're clear-headed. You can't give 100% to every battle every day. That's advocacy energy management. So I want to break down the three main areas where most of your advocacy happens. The first one is obviously advocating for your child. This is the one that consumes the most energy. This is the big one. The IEP meetings, therapy discussions, and those let me explain autism again conversations. You're the voice, you're the bridge, you're the buffer. And all of that can feel really heavy. But remember, effective advocacy doesn't always mean louder or longer. You know what I've learned after years of sitting in those meetings? The loudest advocate isn't always the most effective. Sometimes the calm, prepared, emotionally regulated mom in the room is the one who makes the biggest impact. That's why energy management is key, because when you're burnt out, it's so much harder to advocate clearly. Instead of going into a meeting defensive and ready for a battle, I want you to go in with purpose and confidence. That's the energy that gets things done. When you protect your energy before going into meetings or conversations, you show up with clarity, and clarity gets results. Here's something else I want you to keep in mind. Your child's progress might not always look how you had hoped, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. If you ever feel defeated after advocating and things don't seem to be moving fast enough, go back and listen to episode 157 of our podcast, because it talks about your child's progress is closer than you think. That one will help you see progress through a different lens, especially on days when you feel like you're doing everything right and nothing is changing. All right, the second thing is advocating for yourself. Now, let's talk about you, because yes, you matter too. And this one might feel harder, but it is just as important. You deserve to advocate for your needs. That might mean asking your partner for help, telling your child's therapist that you can't make an extra session this week, or setting a boundary with a friend who always has something to say about your parenting, or maybe your mother in law. I know for me, when I started honoring my own energy and saying, I don't have the capacity for that right now, things changed. I stopped feeling guilty for resting. I stopped saying yes to everything. And I realized that sometimes the strongest form of advocacy is just saying no with no explanation. And I was so proud. One of our members is visiting family in Texas right now. And she shared with us yesterday that she was so proud of herself because she was just saying no with no explanation. And I just love that. It made me so proud of her. You know, advocating for yourself might mean asking for help, saying no to something that you don't have the capacity for, or just communicating your needs clearly. You don't have to justify why you're tired or why you need a break. You're human. You're a mom. You're carrying a lot. And when you give yourself permission to rest and set boundaries, you're not being selfish. You're being sustainable. The third part is advocating for your family. So sometimes advocacy is about the big things, right? School, doctors, therapies. But sometimes it's about protecting your home environment. We often forget that our entire family needs advocacy too. Your marriage, your other kids, your family routines, they all deserve protection. And I say it all the time. Autism isn't an individual diagnosis. It is a family diagnosis, and it impacts your entire family. If one child needs constantly consume every ounce of your attention, it's easy for the rest of your life to start feeling neglected. But when you advocate for balance, when you speak up for what your family needs as a unit, everyone benefits. Advocating for your family might look like saying no to a family gathering that will dysregulate your child for days, scheduling time for siblings who need attention too, or just creating quiet time if they just need a break. It might mean asking for respite care so you can go on a date night. Telling extended family, we won't be coming this year. It's just too much for our family right now. Or maybe it's as simple as creating a rule like, no heavy conversations after 8 p.m. You are allowed to protect your family's needs just as fiercely as you protect your child's services and needs. That's advocacy too. And let's just play this out. This is a scenario that you'll likely recognize. Let's say you've got an IEP meeting coming up and you already feel tense. You've been through this before. You know how it goes. They'll tell you about the progress your child is making, but they're still struggling. You have to push for the same supports again. So you prep your notes, you gather the data, and you tell yourself to stay calm. But you can feel your chest tighten, the redness come over your face just thinking about it. Here's what energy-aware advocacy looks like. You schedule that meeting for a time of day when you are mentally sharp. You make sure that you eat something before you go because, being hangry in an IEP meeting never goes well. You visualize the outcome you want and you practice the main points that you need to make. And when the meeting is over, you give yourself permission just to take the rest of the day off because you just used a ton of emotional energy, and recovery is part of advocacy too. And I want to share just quickly 5 strategies that I learned over the years that really work. The first one is pick your priorities. Not every battle is worth the same energy. Save your advocacy power for what matters most right now. The second thing is stay organized. The more prepared you are, the less energy you'll waste reacting in the moment. The third one is find your advocacy allies. Whether that's another mom, whether that's, you're a member, you're not your average Autism Mom Village, or a friend who just gets it. Don't advocate alone. Number 4, plan recovery time after those events. After big meetings or tough days, give yourself grace and the space to recharge. Don't just jump right into the next thing. And number 5, celebrate the wins, even the small ones. A win doesn't have to be a new service or therapy or mastering a skill. Sometimes it's just your child making eye contact, or maybe it's you calmly handling a meltdown that would have sent you spiraling last year or even last month. Those wins matter. They're proof that your advocacy, your effort, your commitment to figuring this out is making a difference. So I want to ask you something. What's been your biggest advocacy win so far? So far this year? Maybe it was the day someone finally listened. Maybe it was getting your child's first IEP. Or maybe it was simply choosing not to argue and protect your peace instead. Whatever it is, I want you to remember it. I want you to write it down, because those wins, they become your reminders when burnout creeps in. Mama, I know this life can feel like one long battle some days, but I want you to remember, you're not just fighting for your child. You're also fighting for your family's peace, your child's dignity, and your own sanity. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep showing up intentionally, not endlessly. So this month, I want to encourage you to track your advocacy energy. Every night, write down one moment that drained your energy and one moment that restored it. And what's going to happen is by the end of the month, you're going to start seeing patterns, and you'll know exactly where you need to work on protecting your peace. Protect your energy, pace yourself, and above all, remind yourself you can be a strong advocate without losing yourself in the process. You've got this, Mama. I believe in you. Go make it a great week. And until next week, remember, above all, you, Mama, are doing amazing at this mom thing.